What are we on location for today, Thomas?
Moving a water truck.
Race car tune with that smoke in it. It's coming on. Very schmick.
Almost too schmick for us.
Yeah, it's definitely nothing we own. So,
welcome back to another episode of Backyard Builds. We have this 59 Chevy Parkwood wagon in today.
So the car's owned by a local fella, friend named Timmy Dan. It's airbagged, and Timmy was driving it like a Mexican. So aired up at the front, aired out at the back, and it had a tendency to rip the front shocks out of it.
Like completely out of it. It ripped them out off the chassis.
Yeah, clean off, bent pins, everything. So
Destroyed the E-level actuator as well.
yeah, so Timmy come to us today, or a couple of weeks ago, and said, can you boys fix it up for us? So today we're going to have a look at our workaround on how to keep the same shocks in the car and still give it some movement.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get it. So we've ripped the wheels off both sides. As you can see, the shock's pinned on top. That one's actually bent. So it's actually cracked that mount as well.
Yeah, the mount is actually cracked just through there. For some reason they've welded the top mount to this piece.
And it just doesn't give it any movement whatsoever at the top.
Yeah. We also noticed the E-level sensor, which is virtually broken here and not the best position.
But we'll start with the shocks and go from there. Alright, so we skipped a little bit, but essentially what we did was made this little cardboard template. We've tested it in the car, it works. So what we're going to do now is cut it out of some 5mm plate. Instead of using a 1mm grinder, we're going to use a plasma cutter. Plasma cutter works off electricity, creates an arc that melts the material, uses compressed air and blows it away as a molten. So this one's a handheld, just a little box. They've seen us use CNC ones before. Saxon safeties. Oh, sorry, Saxon Sunnies. Double it up. And yeah, so we'll cut it. So what I've done here is I've used a piece of 3mm plate as a guide. to run down and get the measurement I want. So I've worked out that that was 4 mil to center from edge. So I want 60 mil. So I've marked 64 from this edge to the edge of the plate. Let's get it. So we got to the point in the day where we thought we might actually explain how we're going to rectify the problem. So we've got the old mount out with the old shock. So this is the mount. They're the welds on it. I'm not sure if this was like a kit or what it was, but it wasn't doing the job. So this is how a shock normally would mount, or a pin style shock. Shocks, you get the option of pin eye. So that's what we call an eye. That's a pin. Pin eye or eye. Unfortunately, these are really short shocks and we can't actually get something in eye and eye configuration. That would be really good. So once those rubbers are compressed and that nut's really tight, there's like very limited movement in the shock. Because the suspension actually has a lot more travel than it normally would with a leaf spring, what's happening is these shocks are peeling back. They're actually cracking across here. The driver's side of the car is actually cracked all the way through there, and the shock's actually non-existent.
Completely tore out, actually.
Yeah. So our solution to this is our pin now goes through one of these. So that's a Teflon raced 1/2 inch spherical bearing, and we have misalignment spacers on it. So that goes into a welding cup. We've already welded both in, but it gives us this movement with the pin staying straight. So that should stop the actual pin from bending and carrying on. So this one's actually tight. So as you can see, massive angle that way, that way, that way, that way. That should be more than sufficient for the car. We've also made a better looking bracket for it. Actually looks quite nice in the car, but it's given plenty of clearance for the shock to
Do its thing.
So I've just got to trim the inner guard now just a little bit more to get that in better. So I'll go and do that now, and then Tom's going to make these up.
That's it.
Glue gun time.
Grinder time. We're going to watch Zach here on the grinder. He's done a lot today. He's been good.
I've been on the grinder all day.
Got it? Action.
Action. Alright, so spherical bearings worked. Shock mounts are a lot stronger. Tom's got some good welds in there on them. So Timmy should be able to cruise around face up, ass down.
And he will cruise it. He drives the wheels off this thing, we know he does. So the Gringo will be back on the streets in no time.
Pretty choppy little LS1 in it actually.
I think it's an LS3 actually.
Yeah, right.
Bit of a cam on it. Shakes the whole car on those bags, but
Yeah, should be sweet.
gets along.
Alright,
Thanks for watching. See you
see you
next
next
week.
week. We're going to go pick up another project now.